Okay. So, Jackie, we spoke, I can't remember when we last spoke. Was it a couple of years ago?
I think it probably was, yes.
Yeah, I was digging through the emails and trying to kind of have a look. And that was when Star Student was just starting off and whatever. So I've branched into this course, How to Tutor Online.
Right.
Where I'm showing teachers and tutors how to work online, how to have, what technology to use, how to get students, and how to run a business online. And I thought it would be, we're exploring all kinds of different avenues and all the different options open to them. And I thought it would be interesting for them to hear from you about Interhigh, a bit about the background and what it's like working in an online school.
Yeah, sure.
So if we can just start with your kind of background and how Interhigh started and the thinking behind it, etc.
Okay. Well, my background is, I originally trained as an architect. So
Mm-hmm.
my background is design. And then quite soon, I wasn't involved in designing individual buildings. I moved towards sort of master planning. So I widened my qualifications then to include town and country planning. And that very quickly began to be in leadership roles, because you're dealing with huge teams of people, not always in the same place at the same time. So really my background has been in leadership. I haven't come through a teaching qualification at all. And then later in my career, I was involved in management in a training centre.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's where my interest in training and mentoring young and not so young people kind of grew, basically. And then my involvement with Interhigh became because I'm married to the founder. It was his original idea. When he trained as a teacher, he trained quite late in life. He started off in industry. So he trained through the Open University. And at that time, obviously, that was distance learning. Mm-hmm. But I think the seed was sown even then. And one of the modules for the teacher training was the School of the Future. So that obviously sparked some ideas as well, way back then. But obviously the internet wasn't around as we know it. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't any online learning, well, certainly not synchronous online learning in those days. And then much later, when he was working, he worked in quite a few state secondary schools. And it was then he began to realise that if your local school was not suitable for you, for whatever reason, it could be that it's just too far away, it could be too big, it could be that they don't actually offer the subjects that you want to study. Whatever reason that is, you have very little options open to you once that happens. Mm-hmm. And he saw lots of children beginning to struggle and indeed fail just because the school didn't suit them and there weren't any other options open to them. So he became quite frustrated with this, and obviously combined with what I've just told you about Schools of the Future and the way that he trained to be a teacher, the idea was born from that.
Yeah, interesting, really interesting. And so that was 2005?
2005 we opened.
Okay.
He began all this in 2003. We built it during 2004. Mm-hmm. And then, yes, we opened in September 2005.
And tell me, in 2005, tell me how parents reacted, teachers reacted to, I mean, it must have been quite, well, it was novel, wasn't it? I mean, you must have been met with quite a lot of resistance.
I wouldn't say resistance, fear, I would say. Mm-hmm. Obviously, from teachers' point of view, they were very interested. We had a lot of families, early adopters, for whom they could see instantly what the benefits were. and came on board. Obviously, the press liked to sort of question this, because don't forget, at that time, people weren't doing things on the internet like they do now. They weren't routinely banking on the internet.
No, I know.
Weren't routinely shopping on the internet. So the internet was this kind of devil's place, really.
Mm-hmm.
Things happened that you didn't really understand. So of course there was a lot of fear and skepticism, just like there is with anything new. And that's, it would have been a bit strange if we didn't experience that.
Mm-hmm.
But there was enough enlightened people to see that actually this was going to be a solution for a lot of young people.
Mm-hmm.
And it very quickly became popular.
Mm-hmm.
And the online landscape now is entirely different. And the only real resistance yet, and it's not resistance, but obviously for those people who are still living in the past, they can be a little bit critical, but generally they've never used an online school, they don't know anything about them, and so we don't worry about those people very much.
Mm-hmm. And tell me about the difference between 2005 and now. What do you see as the difference?
In terms of online learning?
Yes, in terms of your with Interhigh, is it, do you have people coming to you far greater numbers? Is it easier to get teachers? Is it
yeah,
how it's changed?
It's always been easy to get teachers.
Has it?
It's always a popular way, because of the flexibility that it gives them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be careful and only recruit the best teachers, because it appeals to probably all teachers in some way. But in terms of what's changed, I would say that's the territories that we are able to reach. So in the early days, there were really only expats. So although it's always remained about 2/3 UK students, a third overseas, that overseas market in the early days tended to be expats.
Right.
Now it's widened considerably, and we are going into all sorts of new territories that we haven't been in before, with the help of schools and organisations in those areas. So in Asia and Africa, China, etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's changed completely.
Yeah. And what might, looking at it from a teacher's point of view and a tutor's point of view, what might an online teacher working with you, what might their day look like?
Hectic, I expect. It varies depending on what kind of role that they've got. If they're a straightforward subject teacher, they would spend most of their time in direct contact with pupils, teaching in live lessons, much like they would be in a school. We also we have a big education team, so it's not just about subject teachers, it's about subject specialists, course curators, personalised learning managers, so right the way through the range of educationalists. So, but for a straightforward subject teacher who just wants to be hands-on, inspiring young people in their subject, then the majority of their day would be in line talking just like we are, only to a group of students, and leading them really through the learning of their subject, and then gathering evidence to make sure those pupils are making good progress.
Is it you said, you touched already on the fact that lots of teachers want to work with you. Is it a lovely way to work? I know it's very different to a class, but what do you see from the feedback from teachers you work with? What are the benefits to them?
What they say repeatedly, particularly if they've not taught online before, teaching in a physical school, and they come to us, the first thing they always say is how nice it is to teach their subject again. That there's no classroom management required, because the software does that for you. So you're only faced with students who want to learn. So that's the first thing, is that they really enjoy teaching their subject. They say that they can get through 3 times as much material because there are no distractions. Distractions of wasps in the classroom or whatever it happens to be in a physical school. So that's the first thing that always comes to their mind. I think secondly, they really enjoy having the relationship with students from all over the world. So in the schools that we operate, the weather is a constant topic of conversation, because if you're in Antarctica or if you're in Texas, the weather and the time of day and the view out of your window is going to be very different to your classmates. And that was a hugely debated and talked about thing in school, just because of the variety. So I think being in contact and having relationships with students that they wouldn't normally be able to reach.
And the depth of their subject, yes, I can see that would be very appealing. And in terms of what you're looking for in teachers, do you look for like technical awareness, subject? How does it? Presumably they have to bring a different skill set, or do they?
They do. I would say, though, in the first instance, it's a question of attitude, and it's a question of open mind, and it's a question of wanting to learn, because learning doesn't happen in school, it happens all your life. So we wouldn't really be looking for somebody whose mind was closed, somebody who's prepared to just jump in and have a go in terms of technology. It's not acceptable in 2017 to be saying, oh, I'm not good with technology. You don't have to be a mechanic to drive a car well. So that's really not acceptable. And as long as, software is intuitive these days, so as long as you're prepared to have a go, then you will be familiar with it and be able to use it to the best advantage of your students.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the first thing. And then obviously somebody whose teaching skills are of the highest quality, because at the end of the day, online, just like physical, it's about the quality of the teaching and of the learning. So that is paramount in all the schools that we operate. So that's what we'd look for, is quality of teaching.
Yeah.
Evidence of that, quality of feedback to students. So yeah, that's the prime concern.
And for a teacher watching this, is, teachers can stand up, or tutors can stand up in front of a class, and they know how to manage the class, they know how the pace of the lesson, they know to look for signals in pupils for, their mind wandering, you bringing them back into the lesson, all these things that you're trained to look for as a teacher in a classroom. Is that as easy to do online?
Yes, most definitely. You can tell instantly what mood a child's in. You look at the frequency, what their responses are, frequency of their responses, what they're responding to, what they're not responding to. You can analyse a lesson from start to finish to know exactly where a student was completely engaged and accelerating, and where they've slowed down or even gone off task. I would even dare to say it's possibly easier than in a physical classroom, because the teaching is much more one-to-one. Although there's a group of you, when you're sat there with your headset on and you're having a direct conversation or a direct message with the pupil, that's a one-to-one situation. So for each individual pupil, although they are communicating directly with all the other pupils in that lesson at that time, they've also got that direct channel to the teacher consistently.
Yeah.
A one-to-one experience for both.
Yeah. And can we talk then a bit about the technology in Interhigh? Is that, you're an architect, so you're coming from that kind of mindset. Is it difficult to get to grips with? Is it?
No. Like I said earlier, you don't have to be a mechanic
Mm-hmm.
drive a car. Obviously, I've picked up a lot of technical stuff along the way, but technology isn't going away.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going backwards. It's not something to fear. So I think anybody that's interested, and the power and the uses that you can put technology to in learning are huge,
Mm-hmm.
are absolutely vast. So I don't think that that's any kind of barrier to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's, they are tools to really exploit learning to the best possible advantage.
Yeah. And is there any subject in your mind that doesn't lend itself to this? We have in How to Tutor Online, we have the people who are doing the course just now, we have a lot of maths teachers, and we have a piano teacher, and we have, and I mean, it's just, there is no subject, I don't think, but you obviously are more experienced in the school subjects.
I don't know of a subject that you can't teach online,
No.
Some may require a little bit more imagination than others.
Yeah.
Some may require more sophisticated software than others.
Mm-hmm.
But no, there isn't a subject that can't be taught online, and that's been proven.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I say, some might be more difficult in that you need to use a different kind of software or a slightly different approach, but we've not yet found anything that
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. And in terms of the students coming to you, my experience of students online is that they're so up for it, they find it exciting. Any resistance I met was from parents rather than students. Is what kind of students do you have, and what kind of experience do they have?
We have all sorts of students, absolutely everybody, and their experience in our school has always been a positive one.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, for some students, they're leading very hectic lives, so I think it's the flexibility of learning online. To have to go to the same building every day between set hours to do your learning is quite an archaic concept, really, when you sit down and think about it. But to be having a device where you can access information and receive your information 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year, means that there isn't anything that you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would say that for the most part, our students are very busy individuals learning at a very fast rate,
Mm-hmm.
and are therefore, a huge advantage to their peers who are perhaps only able to do that in a physical school.
Yeah, and they sit exams as well.
They do sit exams, yeah. They sit public exams, so IGCSE, so that's international.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And AS and A levels.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, there's a lot on offer. They're not all academics. So
Mm-hmm.
we have crash qualifications and NCFE qualifications. So everything that you would be expect to be doing in any kind of education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what about the social side then, Jackie? Somebody coming to this might think, well, it's all very well, but the social interaction is very important in schools, the relationships that children build. Is there any side of that included in Inter-High?
There is. There's a whole social side of the school.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now young people are socializing online from a very early age. It's how they communicate with each other. You very rarely see young people talking on the phone to each other. They're on various apps, and they're sort of constantly on their phones communicating in school and out of school.
Mm-hmm.
So although of course we have a full social platform, that's the way that they would normally be communicating anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And their range of friends is international rather than just to a fixed locality. Mm-hmm. So we have all sorts of relationships across the world.
Mm-hmm. Is there any Physical meetups
Yes,
at all?
there are, yes. The school organise physical meetups all throughout the year.
Yep.
But then individual locations, so groups of students in individual locations meet up on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
We organise school meetups at least every term.
Yeah, nice.
You don't have to attend those, but they're very popular.
Yeah, nice. And Jackie, in terms of, going forward, the future in education, I mean, newspapers are full of shortage of teachers, shortage of buildings. Do you see this as the way ahead?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interconnected world, isn't it now? So more and more business is done online. Students who have been exposed to online learning are going to be much more advanced in their digital literacy skills than anybody else. It's a lifelong experience as well. You have to remember that most of the jobs that our students and young people are studying towards to have successful careers probably don't exist yet. So we're exposing them to technology and a way of learning that is going to set them up for life in itself, let alone that the subjects and the disciplines that they're being taught, within school, not just academic, but being able to be educated online from quite a formative age is going to set them up for life.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's extremely important. More and more training in every industry that you can imagine is being undertaken in quite sophisticated environments online now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's so sophisticated and being used in so many ways to everybody's advantage that it's phenomenal.
Yeah, really interesting. And to any teacher or tutor thinking of taking the plunge, what would you have any advice for them?
Do it. Jump in there and start experimenting what works for them, what works for their students, and what doesn't. They will quickly, you've just got to get in there and try everything.
Mm-hmm.
And never stop learning. So when something works once, don't stick to it. Keep on evolving it, keep on developing ideas, always be creative, listen to your students. They'll teach you far more about technology than you've probably learnt to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just take advantage of everything, absorb it up and become a learner yourself again.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of lifestyle for teachers, presumably it works around their life much more neatly than going into the classroom does.
Yeah, it certainly can do. I think one thing to bear in mind is, in a connected world, you are available all the time. So in that respect, you could see that as a downside, but it's much more flexible because you're not into this rigid sort of going to a classroom teaching somebody for a set amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
That isn't where most people's learning is done, as we know from our own lives. It's certainly not the only place where learning is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's much more a part of your life, and I think the work-life line becomes much more blurred because it's a part of your life. And the amount to which it's a part of your life is for you to control, which is, again, much more flexible.
Yeah.
Life for everybody involved, really.
Yeah. And so hopefully people can go to your website, the Interhigh website, and have a look at the way you have videos on there, the way students work, the way teachers work, and maybe we'll be able to send some teachers your way in time.
Yes, and what I'll do is I'll send you a playlist, Deanie.
Yeah.
Videos that some of our students have made in the last 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I just asked them to go away and shoot a short film about online schooling.
Mm.
No, they didn't have any sophisticated brief, and within seconds, it's really interesting to see what they came up with.
Great.
That will help any teacher, any parents, and any student see what it's
what it's all about. Jackie, thanks so much. It's been really nice talking to you, and getting are there many? Just lastly, is it a growing? I mean, do you see more and more online schools coming into play, or?
Yes, we do, and that's something that has to be addressed. We're working very hard to be recognised by the DFE. I think there needs to be some regulation. We have spent the last 10 years making sure that we have every kind of accreditation possible. I think the time has come when we need everybody to be of a high quality. Otherwise, it gives the whole online learning regime a bad name.
Yeah.
And it's about quality all the time, quality of learning. So yeah, that's going to be important going forward, and something that we're heavily involved in.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It's been so nice to talk to you and meet you, and good luck with it all. Not that you will need it at all. It looks like it's thriving, and it's exciting. I take it it's an exciting world to work in.
Absolutely, very exciting. Yeah, very exciting indeed.
Great.
Every day, and every new territory. So yeah, my advice to anybody who's a teacher and is interested in young people and their development, then certainly, get into it as soon as you can.
Great, Jackie. Thanks very much.
Pleasure.